Hello, my friends, and welcome to Becoming Unbound, the podcast where we explore what it means to break free from the expectations, limitations, and even the fears holding us back so that we can live a life of true freedom and purpose. Today, I am beyond excited to be joined by my childhood bestie, Erica Binder. Erica is a multi-talented powerhouse. She is a dancer, performing arts professional, instructor, Pilates guru, and the founder of the incredible Stage Door Academy. Erica has not only built an inspiring career, but has also lived through her own journey of becoming unbound. So she's here today to share her story of growth, resilience, and what it takes to live a life and business that aligns with your passions. So get ready for an amazing conversation about freedom, creativity, and the lessons learned along the way. Let's dive in. All right, welcome, Erica.
It's just like back when we were 6 years old again, just hanging out. It's amazing.
Oh my goodness, it's so interesting. You're my oldest friend ever. So we live 2 doors down from each other as children, and we have just kept this like weave of our lives going. And whether it's meeting in parks or for tea, whatever it is, like every couple years, we just manage to get together, and something somehow brings us back together, which is so cool. How would you describe the evolution of our friendship? Like, what has it felt like for you?
Well, we were like tight our whole lives, right? From toddler phase, like we were basically sisters because we lived close and my mom babysat you. You were like my live-in bestie in my home. And then as you moved away in grade 6, I feel like teenagehood, we drifted slightly. Like we still had those sleepovers. And then we found each other again in university because my close friend lived with you at that point in our lives. And then we were like kind of meshing friend groups in university. And then there was a pause for a while, and then we both worked at Lululemon. So we came back together and did some of the same trainings at Queen Street. Do you remember that?
I forgot about our Lululemon connection. Yeah.
And then COVID hit, and I moved home from Tokyo from working with Disney, and we found each other once again, connecting over probably some social media posts of like whatever it was. And then we visited and we hung out through really tough social time, very tough financial times. And yeah, and then here we are again. I'm seeing huge growth with you and the creation of this amazing podcast. And I couldn't wait to get connected to it and see you thrive. Yeah. So I guess that's kind of the long story short of 33 years, right?
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, we were, I love that term, live-in best friends. Like that was it. We were sisters. It was so destined, I feel like, for our lives. You were always the dancer, performer. I was like teacher, no matter what games we were playing, we were enacting our future. Like it was wild to look back on. And then, yeah, our life just kept bringing us back together. The Lululemon connection, that was great. That was too funny. It feels like we were always just meeting each other at the perfect time. So that's awesome. And I have been so inspired by your life. I went kind of the like, yep, I'm going to be a teacher and I'm going to get my pension. I'm going to work. And it was very structured. And then you took this other way of life. We both traveled, but I feel like you ended up in this place where you're like, I'm just creating what I want for myself, right? You went traveling. You worked for a bunch of different dance studios
and like dance companies that would travel to schools too. So I would have that, within the school system, I would pop in and teach workshops. And that's when I realized I didn't want to be a teacher. I was like, there's no way I want to teach in a school. So that was eye-opening for me. I can see why your path evolved from traveling and teaching, and then deciding to take your own route, becoming an entrepreneur.
And I think your route, you saw what it was like in dance studio life, right? And then it felt you were like, this isn't maybe quite what I thought it was. So walk us through, what was that process like of understanding that being a dancer, there's so many routes that you could take. So how did that sort of manifest? How did that look in the moment of you deciding whether this was a yes or no, or maybe there was something different for you to do? How did that all feel?
Well, I think right out of university, like for me, my university choices was like, I dance or I die. I was like, I have to take this route. Like there is nothing else. And my mom would, suggest things like, oh, people might not think that's a real career path. I'm like, it's 4 years in school. Do you know how hard dancers work? This is a program that goes from 8 a.m. in the morning to 10 p.m. at night, 5 days a week. And I have to work on the weekends, right? To get myself through it because I was paying my way. So there was like, for me, there was nothing else. I did apply for other things, but as soon as I got into a dance program, I chose that dance program. That was my route. And I never strayed from that route. And then as soon as school finished, I applied for a few dance jobs. I was working a lot with Lululemon and opening the kids brand of Viva because I was so heavily involved with wanting to teach dance. I had previously taught dance and yeah, I wanted to teach. I wanted to perform. I knew I wanted to perform. I had auditioned a few times that following winter or the previous winter before I graduated. And I applied, I think it was Carnival or like one of the cruise lines, and the audition just didn't go well. I didn't realize how fast it was, how quickly you're seen, how quickly you're cut. And I was heartbroken, but it was the best step forward to know what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. Like I knew it was going to happen. And then soon after I got hired by Disney Cruise Line. And I would say this was like my job that I failed to succeed with because I nailed the job. I nailed the audition. Actually, the audition was on my birthday. I knew, like, it was an inner knowing that, like, this is my brand. Someone said I have a Disney face and I would be a princess. And I was like, no, I don't want to be a princess. I want to dance. And so I was hired I won't go into it. I was hired more as a character performer, but I danced all the time. And I burnt out way, way too fast. It was my first job. I hit burnout, insomnia, not sleeping, not resting, barely able to eat. But I knew I wanted to be a part of this company so bad. And that was the first point in time I listened to myself and I like followed my inner compass and I decided, this contract, it's not for me. And there were a few triggers and instances along the way that led me to decide, but it just didn't feel right. Didn't feel like the right place at the right time. I don't know if it was anxiety or if it was like an inner knowing that I was not meant to be on that boat at that time. And I chose to leave. It was medical leave because I was unable to sleep or rest. And then my brain obviously was affected. I could not perform to the best of my ability. And I had constant anxiety about not being rested and then having to perform. And oh my God, I might forget. This is a huge entertainment company to lose yourself amongst this amazing opportunity would have been horrible. So I removed myself and then I explored teaching again. I slowly built myself back into teaching, years and years of teaching. And then I went back into performing. I performed for an entertainment company for like 5 years, had a blast, different show every week, sometimes more than that. Christmas was like show after show after show, night after night. It was so much fun. But then from there, I decided to travel to LA. And then I nailed an audition for Tokyo and I became the star performer in Tokyo of this show called King Triton's Concert. And that was like the epitome of my performing career. And it didn't come without obstacles. Like I had major back pain and a back injury. I worked through it. Then I got extended in my contract. So I stayed. And then COVID hit. It was 2020. COVID hit. Very, very challenging time for performers, to say the least. That was my whole life. Like I had built up to this moment and then the park shut down. Everything shut down. Everyone lost work. Everyone was, tons of cuts were made to every single company and people were let go. And all I could think of was like, my life exists when I dance, like when I'm performing, when I'm on stage, when I'm leading and building people up to be a better version of themselves. Like that's when my true purpose is there. And I wasn't having that. So COVID was a turning point for me. Very sad, very confused and conflicted with what I should do for the rest of my life. Thought about many other career paths and it was just depressing. Dental hygienist was one of them. Maybe I'll just be a dental hygienist and, great paying job for 9 to 5. Like, there's nothing wrong with being a dental hygienist. It just is not suited for me. Like, I need to be in front of people. I need to move around. teeth would be the last place I want to look in all day long, or mouths, I don't know. But I was just thinking, what is a consistent, okay paying job that will like get me through my life?
Yeah.
And I chose a difficult path. I decided to open a business at that time, but it was the best time because it was a pause, like I couldn't make money anyway, so I might as well dive all in. Yeah. And then I kind of taught at different studios on and off. The hours were cut, the hours were taken away. It was over Zoom. It was in the studio. It was over Zoom. It was horrible. It was terrible. Like, but I came back into myself in that time. I knew I needed to teach dance. And then kind of Stage Door was born from that because I felt so good at what I did, but I didn't really feel like the path was paved for me. I had to create it myself.
It's such an interesting perspective that I have on watching your journey because as children, we have this sense of purpose and like you see what clearly lights children up. Like they have these interests and like sometimes they follow them, sometimes they drop off. They're interested in birds one week and then like the next 2 weeks they're interested in something completely different and they want to be, whether it's like tractors or trains and they're like, you know what I mean? So for me, being able to see your life as a child, like I could clearly see that dance and performing and instructing was your path and your purpose, like from a little kid. And it's so interesting that like I saw different elements of that, whether it was like working, as a Lululemon educator or as a performer, or as a dance instructor, like that was your purpose in your whole career. Like I could see it from a child. And so to watch you like weave through that and like stick to that, because I know the life of a dancer, like the resilience and the different career path, like your mom said, like, oh, that's not a real career path. Like I bet you came up against a lot of people being like, oh, well, why don't you just go get a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 job with security? Like, why don't you just go do that? Because that's what society kind of tells us. And from the time that you were 5, you were like, heck no, like absolutely not. So it's like your awakening moment, like your soul came into this body and you were like, no, I am here to dance and I'm here to perform and I am here to live this purpose. And it's so interesting for me to like, it's like a study of so like who gets to see someone from the age of 3.5 go through their entire purpose and like watch that grow like that. I feel like I have such a privilege of watching that. And so for me, in my path of becoming unbound, you have, and that's why I wanted to get you on the podcast, because it's like I've seen this evolution of you and like you never strayed from that. And even against resilience and COVID and things being shut down and people probably saying like, oh, just don't do that, do something easy. Like
I had some jobs and
yeah,
they weren't easy because I was fighting against myself of like, I'm not meant to be here. I might be good here, but I'm not happy here. There were many moments where I had to, leave, bite the bullet, leave a consistent, okay paying job to go back to what I was called to do. But yeah, from a very early age, I knew. It's wild.
Yeah. And it's incredible that you have persevered through all of those challenges. And here you are as a studio owner, business owner, and you are still doing exactly what I feel like you're meant to do. And like, it's just had all these different evolutions of that. And so it's a beautiful thing to watch and to know that, yeah, you did walk away from some really hard calls because, you were always sensing into what is in alignment with me, what is my purpose, and how can I keep all of those things and get back to community and have the abundance that you need to live and all of these things, like all these
on that one.
practical things that you have to think about. But I feel like your resilience and your perseverance to do that is such a beautiful message to people to be like, yeah, it's going to be hard. Living into your purpose isn't, sure, some people say that like, oh, it's meant to be easy. And it is, but it's also like, there's going to be challenges. You are going to have to climb big ass mountains and then, reach different peaks and find out what it is to live a life where you are aligning constantly with your value systems. It's a beautiful evolution that you've gone through.
Thank you. It's nice to see it from your point of view. Because it's not always the narrative I tell myself, right? So it's nice to see it from your eyes or to listen to you explain what you've seen because it's a crazy up and down journey. Yeah.
And
You
so
go
and so
into
now that you and I know that like COVID, you had to build yourself up again. There was a lot of people that lost out on opportunities or things were just shut down, businesses were shut down. How have you found the sort of rebuilding of your own empire? How has that looked for you? What limitations were there? How did you sort of navigate that big challenge? Because that was kind of my start to understanding like there's something different out here for me. What is it? So how was that for you?
Well, it was lucky because it was COVID in a way, because I had the time to be able to sit down, create a logo. My brother, like your sister, is a graphic design artist. So he was able to design exactly what I want. And he said to me, like, hey, it's okay if you don't like this. I'm going to give you like 5 different things. I'm like, it's beautiful. It's perfect. I sketch something. I'm like, make it. You're going to make it beautiful. It's like, no, you need to develop the idea of saying like, this is good and this isn't good and why. Like develop this critical eye for people. And I had it for myself, but I didn't have it for him because I was just so thankful that he would do that work for me. And so I had the time. That was it. That was with me during COVID. And then I kind of developed some dance classes and connected to a yoga studio owner who obviously needed help and was happy to rent out her space to me at that time because things were, very insecure for everybody. Nobody knew what was coming. So I had Saturdays there and it was so easy. I connected with her and she, yes, come to my studio. And I was definitely able to have the best start at this place, like gorgeous space, very welcoming. I had my first registration there and one person came and I realized, this isn't the time for in-person registration. Everything's online. I'm not great online. I love to be in person with people. That's why I do what I do. Uh, but I started slowly, implementing social media and developing this brand and this voice behind my posts. And slowly it started with baby classes. And then 12 weeks later, it shut down. So this was also when I moved out for the very first time in Toronto by myself. So I had moved from my parents' house at 27 and I moved straight to Tokyo on contract, but I was handheld the whole time. And then moving home, I was thinking, no, I can't live with my parents past 28. This isn't happening. I love them. I love my home to visit, but not to live. And so I needed out and I rented my first place at Young and Egg and it was gorgeous. It was a brand new build. I was the first one in it. 4 months later, I'm moving out because I can't afford to live there. Everything was set up for me. I was teaching for other studios. I was opening my own studio. I was starting, in a different community in Toronto, but then working in Oshawa and Scarborough for other people. So I had to continue working for other people to make this dream come alive. And these other people were super supportive of that, especially because I would never, it was completely separate in different communities. So I started building and building. And then after that 12-week mark, we were outside. Okay. We were outside on the yoga deck. Amazing space. So thankful to be able to start that way. I had like 4 kids. Okay. Not very successful, but that's how it starts. And then we shut down and I just thought, yeah, that's the end of it. I guess that's what I'll do with Stage Door. And I ended up working for a pain clinic. And I worked for a children's store before that and kind of rebuilt my clientele because it was on the Danforth where my studio was, my business was. So I kind of built and became really close friends with Julie. And she's helped me in entrepreneurial ways. Like I can't thank her enough for what she's done for me and how she's assisted me and given advice and encouragement. But she opened a business, so she knows how it goes. Yeah. And then I reopened again once we were able to have people come back and I slowly built. And I think parents of small children were so excited to get their kids in activities because their socialization had been down. And I was like, wow, I'm really attracting a lot of young kids. And I like to teach young kids. They're so cute and so amazing. But it was a hard time to attract kids who had never had structure. So I was, teaching the etiquette of dance class, not necessarily dance class. And it was a lot of follow the leader and a lot less memorization of the work that's involved in a dance class. So I built very slowly, and I wasn't proud of my first recital product whatsoever. My fiance, my boyfriend at the time, was very sweet to help me with that show, but we were wearing masks because we had to, because the theater made us. It was a good start, but I was like, wow, this is such a budget show, but it's what I could do with what I had at the time. But then year 2 went much better. I had like 30 kids, which to me was great for a good start. And then year 3 of the actual recital was great as well. And it was like a slow progression. Now I've been open for 5 years and I've completely changed what I'm doing. I just realized I don't want to work with recreational kids anymore. I want to work with kids who are super passionate and super dedicated. And it doesn't need to be very expensive for the parents, but I have them enrolled with a studio that I've collaborated with. And then I rent their stage space. And so it's 1 day a week for me. And I'm teaching like competitive dance, but we call it company, to just 4 kids. And I'm so much more feeling more passionate about being in this space, this brand new space. It's way less than renting 2 spaces because I was doing that the year prior. And that really, really shook me financially. So I had to scale back in order for life to work. And I'm focusing on the kids who have shown the most dedication and who really want to be there. And so that's what makes me feel passionate, is developing their skills and their mindset, more importantly, because if I had a mentor in my childhood who helped me with my mindset, I wouldn't have had the challenges that came on my path. So yeah, that's the story.
Wow, that's beautiful. There's so many things I want to touch on, but you were very willing. And I know for people who want to have this new dynamic of life, a lot of times we want to try to build and we want to like dive right into entrepreneurial life. And that sometimes works. But like the beauty of your thing is that you decided or allowed yourself, gave yourself grace to have a job, another job, to make your dream come true, right? I think there's this, you break free of the 9 to 5 or whatever, but it's also like you got to do what makes it work for you, that keeps it within your passion. You keep that flame alive, and you are able to like financially strap yourself. So I think there's a beautiful lesson in that entrepreneurial thing that, yes, first of all, it does take time, and having enough, financial stability to make your purpose and your true alignment come together is a beautiful thing. And you allowed yourself the grace to do that. And although probably in your mind, you're like, oh, this wasn't quite what I was picturing it to be.
I definitely thought that was my last year.
Yeah.
I'm thrown in the towel, bankrupt. I have nothing left to give. Like, it was such a it was a lot for me. And having a job, like full-time job this whole time through, I can't imagine just like breaking free and going all in. A lot of people said that's what I should do, but to me, I would have resented it because I don't want to have a studio like everybody else. I don't want it to be the same as every other cookie cutter studio. I don't know if you know, but we've got like at least 10 in the area. They're already doing amazing things. They all have their own little flavor of what they offer. And I have mine, and mine is just as good. And I have a deep performing background, and I'm young, and I've got the education behind me, but it's just not what I want to do long term. I would prevent myself if I went all in. So I'm so glad I didn't.
Yeah. And it seems like you recognize like what was sort of the life of a dancer. Like you've done your performance, and like that can still be a thing for you. You could just open a dance studio and do like every other studio does, and then competition's high, and like that could have been the route that you chose. But I feel like you've decided to, like you said, you're working with dancers who are super passionate about what they do. They are performers at heart. It's like you're teaching to yourself in a way of like what you wish could have happened for you in the mindset and working with dancers. Because I can imagine the life of a dancer to be very challenging, like the weight and the pressures of, have to be, you essentially like, it's perfectionism at its core, because you have to be perfect because you're putting on a performance. Now, I'm sure there are moments in dance where like mistakes happen and things go the way they go, and to the audience maybe you wouldn't even notice. But the art of a dancer's life is essentially like perfectionism. So can you talk to us a little bit about that? Like, what was that life like, knowing that you had so much sort of riding on being this perfect dancer? Like, did that ever, I'm sure that came
Yeah,
up a lot for you.
I didn't realize that was the case until more recently when I spoke about this with my therapist, and she pointed it out actually. And I think growing up as a dancer created a huge perfectionist tendency, which made me very hard on myself. So I didn't see it as perfectionism because in my mind, I was saying, I'm nowhere close to being perfect. I'm not a perfectionist, right? But I would work and put in the hours, and then I would work on my fitness, and it was never enough. And then I would train so hard and then see some results and then get addicted to those results. And it became very unhealthy. And I think female athletes can have a tendency to overdo it at times. And dance, if you're not careful, can absolutely contribute to body image, body dysmorphia, eating disorders. And I didn't run into it in my first big contract, but my second big contract, believe it or not, when I had all the tools and I was pushing myself to succeed, push through the back pain. And that's when I encountered very harsh body dysmorphia. And it wasn't until months later I saw a photo of myself and went, oh my God, I can't believe I got to that point where I was skin and bone. And I don't even have the pictures to I don't even want to see myself that way because that's not Erica. That's not who I am. I've always been a sturdy, muscular build with dancing legs and abs. And I had disappeared into the most lean version of myself who didn't look well. It wasn't safe. And I think part of it was being away from home. There were many different factors that contributed. It was a little bit hard socially for me in my first pass. And living in a country that spoke a different language was very tough for someone like me who loves to be bubbly and outspoken and fun and have friends. And it just wasn't that. It was culture was hardworking, and all I was there for was work and maintaining my image of, 16-year-old girl. I was 27. So I made some changes to the way they treated the performers. I think by being who I am and speaking up and trying to be a leader. I don't know how it landed in this culture, and I don't know what I was thinking, but I had been asked a few times how measuring the dancers was landing, and I was honest. So measuring the dancers so frequently over in a different country was a lot for North American performers. There was a huge conversation around eating disorders and what to eat and veganism. And, there's nothing wrong with veganism. However, if it's done in the wrong way, it can be dangerous as well. So yeah, there's a lot that went into my life as a perfectionist with dance. But I think if you know how to properly pinpoint when you're starting to have these thoughts, when you're able to talk about it with someone you trust, when you're able to journal things, that's when you can kind of nip it in the bud early. And I thought I would be fine. But then at 27, I struggled. So you just never know. Sometimes your mental health slips and one thing's off and you can go down a very dangerous road. So to prevent that, I'm trying to set up my company where I throw mindset workshops and I visit performing arts schools and I talk about these things with kids. I'm not a therapist, but I can prevent, hopefully, some of these thoughts and some of the actions that could come from those thoughts.
Yeah, it feels like that could be a really dark place that dancers could find themselves.
Absolutely. We're in front of a mirror, right? And our instrument is our body. So if our dancing isn't perfect, then we can make our body perfect. And that's the mindset. It's if the body's perfect, maybe I can make this technique perfect. But that's not the way it goes. The smaller you get, the less muscular you are, the worse your dancing is, or the worse your performance is. And again, at 27, I thought I knew that. But it's a very different reality when you're living abroad amongst brand new people and you just want to do well. That was my main goal, was to just do well.
Well, yeah, I'm so glad that you are able to be that mentor for people and you have, you said you're not a therapist, but you have that lived experience of what it means to get into that what it means to be unaware of that, and then what it means to come out of that and understand that within yourself. The dance community is so lucky to have you in that way.
And it's not just dancers too.
Yeah.
TikTok stars out there who, kids are on the other side of their phone comparing themselves to, and they're in a filter. It's not even real. So, I think all young girls, even young men, struggle with these things. So it's important to talk to kids and youth about the real things in life.
Mm. Yeah, that's incredible. So on this podcast, we talk a lot about freedom and the concept of freedom, whether it's financial freedom, whether it is body freedom, and you just experience like amazing health freedoms, or breaking free of mindset free, like, living in old patterns. And so for you, how does that show up for you in your life, as far as whether it's like your business or your mindset that you've established for yourself now? How does that show up for you?
I wish I could tell you that I feel financially free taking on this big task, but I think sometimes what's appreciated is not always popular. And so I think it's a really, really slow climb. But I would say I found freedom by working my side job, which has grown to be such a passion and such an assist to what it is I'm doing with Stage Door. I get paid by the hour. And I think amping up your side job, because that is going to help you build the empire that maybe you want to have. And I'm also okay if it doesn't work out, because I considered it not working out as well. And I'm just as happy teaching Pilates. So that's why I was teetering with the idea of maybe Stage Door closes down. And I was okay with that. But if I can hang on to it and shift it so that it's slightly more aligned with who I am, then maybe with teaching Pilates, where I'm super passionate, I'm teaching adult bodies how to self-love, self-awareness, and healthy movement. And like, it's so rewarding because you're building them up every single day. I can translate all that amazing work to my dancers as well. So they work hand in hand. And I think I found freedom through my 9 to 5, which is actually 6 a.m. to 11, sometimes later. So I think, I think that's what I would say. It's not breaking free. It's not completely free, but I found freedom in something else. And then I have something to really focus on for survival.
I love the idea of, you said you're building your business through your 9 to 5, and that's beautiful. But I think the thing that stuck out to me most is like your ability to just understand that you are not under this crazy pressure to be like, if this business doesn't survive, like, I'm not going to survive. Like, you freed yourself from the idea and like the attachment to this business, that you could be like, okay, well, I tried something. We were shut down multiple times, and no matter the outcome of this, I'm free. You discovered a new passion. You still keeping within your alignment and your performance and instructing and dancing in a way, because I feel like Pilates is, correct me if I'm wrong, but Pilates is also like ballet infused. Like, that's how it was created.
Yeah, it's like cross training for dancers.
Right.
On the reformer, it's like the most incredible sculpting for dancers' bodies. You're building core, proper leg strength, balancing the body, which you need for balancing on your feet.
Yeah. So it sounds like that beautiful sense of detachment that you have, that you're like, I've already been shut down. I'm okay with the outcome. So you've freed yourself from what could be this, like, people could say like, oh, well, you failed or something like that. You freed yourself from all of that. You're like, it's already all happened. If this goes through and I'm able to touch the lives of these young dancers, then it feels like you are just understanding that that is the most beautiful part. And I think you are taking this on from like a really smart perspective, because I think every entrepreneur needs to understand that you could fail, and you could have to restart again. And failure doesn't have to look like, oh, you failed, you went bankrupt, it's never to be seen again, and you're never going to start anything new. It's just like that version of that business didn't work. And you're going to learn all these lessons and take it into something new. So I love your perspective of freedom, because it's not one that you hear. It's like, oh, I'm financially free. I freed myself from this system or whatever. It's like, no, I've freed my mind. I
Mm-hmm.
have freed my ability to not be so, oh, this needs to work. Or
Yes.
like, how is that free? I think about, if you can see on video, it's like if you're constantly having a fist and you're holding on to something so hard, how can anything land in this fist? But if you like release and let go and you have an open palm, now you look at the surface area that you just created. Now anything can land in your palm, whether it is Pilates or a new business or a new passion or something. Like holding on so tight is going to be the thing that keeps you captured, right?
Yeah, I absolutely understand and align with what you're saying. Like it's incredible. Like even the challenges I had when I was renting two spaces, I was working around, schedules of other studios, but I had to because I didn't want to have my own brick and mortar right off the bat. I didn't have $5,000 a month to pay for rent. But then it ended up being that anyway, pretty much. So yeah, like those challenges, I'm like, how will I ever recover from not being able to fill the spaces with dancers and the hours that I've rented and I've committed to these business owners? Like, how on earth am I going to do this? But magic happened and I let go. And then this amazing space fell into my lap. And then I connected differently with a different studio, and they were all about like collaboration over competition. And they were like, yes, come on in. And then it made me say, like, I want to share my dancers. I want your teachers to dance, to teach them ballet and teach them their extra classes. And then they can take their competitive one-on-one private stuff with me. And then I became a private company. And it's funny you're saying, like, I've always been, or like the freedom of one door closing, one door opening, something along those lines. But that's the whole premise of my dance studio. Because when I was in Tokyo, I would see really pretty doors, right? Really gorgeous doors. And I always wanted to name my studio Stage Door because there's something magic about that backstage moment as a performer where you're like, oh, I'm about to go on stage. Like it's like the anxiety and the excitement together. So Stage Door, I love that name. But then I connected like all these gorgeous doors I was taking pictures of when I was in Tokyo. It was like the slow build of what I wanted. And it was all about like when one door closes, like my performing stopped. And then I was able to open this amazing door to mentorship, which is, I think, where I wanted to be from the beginning. But I had to go through this to get this. And I still am going through so many different learnings and things to get to where I want to go. Yeah.
That's beautiful. It sounds like you had a really beautiful sense of whatever you want to call it, faith, belief in yourself, in your ability to reinvent things and just to allow and I think that's one of the biggest tips I always have is just like you have to take those leaps of faith and you have to keep taking them to say like, okay, so I'm doing this and then I did that leap of faith and hey, it worked out. Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I've taken this leap of faith. It worked out. There's going to be another thing, but I already have evidence that I can do this. Like I already have that faith in myself that, if things do fail or if I do make a mistake, like I'm going to be okay. Whether it's your family that, is there for you when you move back home or all these sorts of things, like you have to have that faith that like once you take that leap, you're like, no matter what happens, I'm going to be okay. Because whether it's God, the universe, someone's got you. You know what I mean? Whether it's you've got you. Like,
that's kind of where I've been for the last years. No matter what happens, I've got me. And I think there's a lot that's worked against me this last year, but it was like a deep courage and a deep love. And together, I'm just not going to back down from that. Like, this is my purpose. I'm taking it and I'm going. And my biggest thing was, I might close for a few years, have babies, do the mom thing and then reopen somewhere outside of the city. That's always an option as well. But I just love how this kind of manifested and all the presentations there will be to come.
That's amazing. So if you could, and I'm envisioning your little self because I know your little self so well. If you could give your younger self, whether it's you as a little child or you when you were starting to think about this business, if you could give yourself like a tip, a place to step, hey, do this and see where you might land, like what would be your advice or your tip to your younger self or even to someone of that age right now?
Not to be so hard on myself, not to be so hard on yourself. It's going to work out if it's this audition or if it's the next one or if it's 30. It's going to work out and it's going to work out for the best. that door closed on you because the environment wasn't right, it wouldn't have gone well. That's what I would say. And just like keep staying passionate no matter what, no matter who comes along your way to say, it's going to work out for you. I would just, no, it is. And I know it's going to work out. And if it doesn't work out, I'm okay. So just not to be so hard on myself physically, mentally.
Yeah, that is great advice. I feel like we have these big expectations to fill, whether it's through family or our own expectations or the expectations of the industry that we're in or that we've decided to get in. And it's sort of like those could be the rules, or I could make my own rules and go through this door, or I could go through this door. Like, it's a beautiful, and I love your company name. Like, I didn't actually know the story behind it. So I love that. And that's something that, like, when I had to close a huge, massive, big door in my life, and it worked out for the best. I feel like we're both walking proof of understanding that when one door closes, another one will open, like, no matter what. And it's probably going to be even better than you expected. It could be more challenging, but it's going to be the exact right thing for you to do.
Yeah.
And that's, you just have to have that faith.
Absolutely. Yeah. If I'm not doing it out of love, then there's no reason for me to do it. That's how.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's serving me in ways I didn't think it could, like so rewarding. Yeah. So if the finances don't meet me where I'm at, it doesn't matter.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for coming on. I know we talked about this in the summer, and it's so amazing now to see it come to life. And like, I talked about having you on the podcast, and I was talking about some future podcast that was going to happen. So here we are. Amazing. I'm so proud to still have you in my life. Like, I feel like not many humans can be like, yeah, I've known this woman for 30 years because we met when we were 3.5.
3.5. I know.
So, Erica, if people want to find you, if they want to know what you're up to, and where can people find you to get to know more about it?
So stagedooracademyofdance.com, or if you want to email me for a presentation for your studio or performing arts company, I'm giving slideshow presentation and question and answer talk about performing the industry, resume building, anything that you want to focus on, I'll curate to your particular brand on your studio. And you can also follow me on Instagram or email. So Stage Door Academy of Dance is my Instagram handle. And if you want to email me, it's info@stagedooracademyofdance.com.
Well, I'll put all of that in the show notes, and I hope that, I love that our paths are always intertwining. So that's amazing. Thank you so much for your time today and sharing your story and kind of our story. And it's amazing. Thank you so much, Erica.
Such a pleasure, Carly. I'm super proud of where you're headed with this. It must be the most rewarding thing.
It's been a wild ride, and the leap of faith that I took.
Yeah.
I landed. I took the leap, and I'm landing quite comfortably. So this is nice.
So happy to hear.
Yeah.
Well, I want to catch up over coffee and have an off the air catch up as soon as.
Totally. Awesome. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Keep living that unbound life and empowering yourself to make a change and live into that freedom, whether it is breaking free of that 9-to-5 job or just breaking free of that mindset. Align with your passions, and it turns out everything's going to be all right. See you on the next one.